You could have bet me any money amount in the world and I would have taken it to say that I would never work for my father. But here I am and loving it. We don't sample in an opaque pouch. We sample in a clear pouch or in cups that are clear because I want to see, yes, they might tell me it's great, but they've only taken a sip and then walked, 2 feet away and thrown it out. Well, the words don't match because if you loved the product, you would finish it. So put the two together. Don't price it for your margin today. Price it for what you need to price it tomorrow. Costco's going to look at all the places you've sold, find the very lowest price you've sold this product at, and then ask for 40% below
Thanks
that.
a lot for coming on the Shelf to Scale podcast. It's great to have you here.
So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So before we get into things, I just want to get maybe a bit into your background. You came into the beverage world, I think in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, 2019, 2020, perfect timing. It's not like anything was happening in the world then, but yeah, it was definitely a big life shakeup for me.
Definitely. So maybe just walk us through that moment. What made you kind of decide to, get into the beverage world and a bit about your background?
Yeah, so I mean, my childhood stems from the beverage world. My dad was part of the original team behind Clearly Canadian and Orbits in the 90s, that big nostalgic drink with the floating balls in it. So kind of grew up taste testing, but never in a million years thought I would be a part of this world. You could have bet me any money amount in the world and I would have taken it to say that I would never work for my father. But here I am and loving it. But yeah, my background is not food and bev. I'm probably the only person in our office that does not have a food science of some sort degree, which I find pretty funny because I'm also the one that heads our R&D, which is another topic to dive into. It is actually dance. I was a professional ballet and modern dancer. Social work, that's what my undergraduate degree is in, and cultural studies, my master's degree. So nothing to do with food, nothing to do with business, really. I did non-for-profit business, arts administration in undergrad, but again, not this world of business. And then I was a model and I ran a scuba diving shop and was an activist for the environment and nothing like this. And then I was back in Vancouver in modeling and all of that and working on some really cool projects that combine my acting career with my scuba diving that were very travel based and excited. And then COVID hit and I was kind of working for my dad a little bit on the side, helping him with some product checks and demos, just filling downtime. Uh, and it was kind of like, well, my sister was in my role at that time and she wanted to leave and she was like, oh, Autumn can take over. And I was like, yeah, no, I have a career. I have a life. I have things that I'm doing. And then the world shut down. I was like, okay, well, in the meantime, let me see how I can help. And that got my passion going. I started with just learning as much as I can to help. Like, we were in the midst of a website transfer. So learn how to build a website and help with that. And shoestring budget, so let me figure out how to do a little photography so we don't have to pay tens of thousands of dollars for photo shoots. Let me come up with ideas to get marketing out there and created a small brand package for people to discover their local products and did hand deliveries of that across Greater Vancouver and just got excited and eventually ended up in the lab finishing out projects. And now we're 6 years plus into it. And
Amazing.
it's a passion and it's what I go to bed dreaming and nightmaring about, but it's a lot of fun and the layer of getting to work with family and develop new products and bring products to market that I think really are serving the public and answering a need fills a different passion of mine now. So it's great.
Definitely. And do you find that there were some parallel or some skills that you took from whether it was ballet, scuba diving, acting, modeling that transferred over to working the beverage space?
Yeah, I mean, all of them. I think dance just teaches a perseverance and a work ethic that really very few disciplines teach, or I guess like any childhood focused activity, whether, it's you're serious about sports or anything like that. But there was a real focus that brought to me a real drive and determination, as well as like, I'll figure it out, passion that transferred across. And then having a background in arts administration, which is basically non-for-profit business, how to run a company on a shoestring and get people to give you money and learn how to write grants. I'm constantly diving into those skill sets. Not only did it give me the basics of understanding, how to balance the books and look at a budget and be able to look at financials and understand what's being said, but then being able to write a grant, know how to look for grants, what kind of resources are out there, how to run break-even marketing. Those are skills that I think a lot of main business classes don't teach you that are so, so helpful. I mean, you go into a business course and they're like, oh, you're going to make money. Well, that's not true in CPG for, quite some time. So having learned the skills on how to build money, not generally through just selling a product, but how to find the resources out there was a skill I really appreciate. And I kind of wish they would bring to more business courses and classes for entrepreneurs, especially because there are a lot of amazing resources, whether in the US or Canada, that can help give you a leg up. Canada especially, so I'm lucky on where we're based, but a lot of people don't know how to write those grants and look for those resources.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, of course, in CPG, like it's a low margin industry. The beverage space to get something off the ground and to actually get it to that economies of scale is tougher even in beverage within the CPG space itself, like as a
Yeah,
subsection.
beverage is tight. We've had a couple people who've come from beauty, and I talk to them. A lot of our we have consulting on the side, so I work with young entrepreneurs who are building a brands, and sometimes they come from other established CPG areas, and sometimes they're new. And some of the first things I talk about is margins and how to build your pricing and what looks good on your bottom line. Different areas like beauty have much more enjoyable margins, whereas in food and beverage, you're like, okay, I want to have a 40% margin at my price to the next level. And the person I was working with from beauty, she was like, 40%? I can't live off of that. And I was like, no, like she actually had 60% margin in the pricing structure that she could have. And I was like, you are so lucky. She's like, nah, it's not worth my time. I'm out. I was like, okay, well, you got to have passion for what you're building too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I want to unpack that a little more later in the conversation. But
Yeah.
before that, I wanted to go into a bit about for people that don't know Newsante and the portfolio of brands that you have under it, Newbies, 52 North, and Radiate. Maybe just give us a quick version of what you've built, what those different brands are, and
Yeah, so Gnusante stands for relentless pursuit of health. New is the wildebeest, constantly migrating to find its next meal. Sante, French for health. So relentless pursuit of health is kind of behind it. And what it means is that we are uncompromised in what we're building. So we're really building products that put people and planet first. So all of our brands are backed in science, are uncompromised in what we choose from our ingredients to our packaging to how we produce our product. We really put those two pillars first in everything. And that then translates to our brands. So we have our Newbies line, which actually started as a line to help a family friend that was and sensory sensitive and was rejecting foods. And so my dad at the time was like, I work with dietitians and I develop drinks. Let me see if I can develop something that actually has nutritional value that she'll accept, which she did. And then my sister was a new mom at the time and was like, oh my God, nothing in the market answers this. That's actually nutritious. That's actually delicious. That's, convenient and shelf stable and easy to take on the go. So that's how the Newbies brand came to life. And then I came on in that 2019, 2020 area. And I was like, this is great, but I want something for me. So we jumped into the lab and developed the Newbies Plus line, a little bit larger, nostalgic flavors, a little bit more complex, but both of them lie in the balance of protein and fiber for sustained energy that actually has benefits to you. Again, no sprinkling of ingredients just to say they're in there. Radiate stemmed from my beauty world and working in the modeling and being a person that I'm not great at remembering to take different vitamins and supplements and everything else is for my skin. And I'm not great at remembering to apply all the moisturizer. I was probably one of the laziest models on the market. You're lucky if I wash my face at night. But I do enjoy beverages. So I was like, well, what if I could take all that skincare and put it in something that I can consume daily? So that's how Radiate came along. But again, all the ingredients have clinical trials behind them. The dosages are at those clinical trials and they all work together. And then 52 North is our hydration line. And that came to us from another friend who was like, hey, I have birch trees and It's been a traditional use of hydration and detox and all of this other stuff. So we looked at it and we really saw the science behind it. And we're like, the tastes amazing. It's a great alternative to coconut water or artificial hydration products out there. And when I was pregnant, it was actually the only thing I could drink. I could not keep water down. So we're always finding like new that our hydration line answers. But basically, we just do anything if it has science behind it, if the sourcing of the ingredients can be environmentally friendly, ethical, and we can make it in a pouch, then it's something that we want to explore and do as long as it's really answering a need for the public. So that's kind of our background. But we want to be the answer. If people want to find something that's beneficial, we want Gnusante to be the name that people think of, like, well, let me see what Gnusante has. Maybe they have something to answer this need. So we're growing our portfolio to be that answer for trustable beverage solutions.
Definitely. And it seems like you're trying to, like, you've got people at different stages of their lives where they're at and are
Yeah.
kind of a product for them at that stage. Maybe going to like starting off with newbies. That's of course the kids category, like the kids beverage category. So I know that can be quite tough with, price points, although there's a big demand for, healthier versions or healthier products.
hmm
Kind of how do you guys, I guess, balance that, having a healthier product, but also kind of managing that price sensitivity in the kids category?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a category that parents are always going, I want better for my kids. But this is starting to change. But I'd say when I started back in 2020, I want better for my kids, but I don't want to spend more than $1. And you're like, well, I can't answer that. We've always tried to keep our prices as competitive as possible. And at times that's meant that our margins are extra thin. And we're in a very lucky place that we can do that because we have a diversified revenue stream that we're not leaning on one product to make sure that we're paying everyone in our company and dollars. And so it's not always a pricing model I recommend to new brands, but it's a choice we've made so that we can serve and keep awareness of that price sensitivity. But at the same time, like $3.99 for a kid's pouch, which is where we sat a year ago, is expensive. We're definitely on the premium end. Interesting enough, kids products and juices are starting to come up to our price point. So we've been able to hold steady at our price point and everyone else is coming up that now we become a lot more competitive. But this year we actually oh, took a review of our product. And it's one thing I always tell young entrepreneurs is like, don't get married to your product exactly as it is. You're going to have to pitch, you're going to have to pivot, whether that's size, whether that's ingredient impacts, whether that's flavors, be open to adjustment. So we kept on hearing we wanted smaller. We had little sample pouches that everyone was like, oh my God, these are so cute. Like, can we have these? And I'd be like, no, because these cost me as much as the full size ones. But then I sat down with the team and I said, let's really look at what our costs would be if we reduced our size. So we went from 190 milliliters to 125. So a good drop in amount of product, but it did a number of things. It actually did have a cost savings that we were able to drop our price point under $3, which was a game changer for us, going from being a $3.99 product to now a $2.99, a lot more competitive. But our consumers also, because we wanted to be like, this is not shrinkflation. We're not just making the product smaller and doing a small decrease. We took the price down as much as we could, but it made the pouch better for small hands. It made the pouch fit into the lunchbox better and really answered more of the use occasion that we were hearing, as well as matching that price point. So it's a flexibility that helped. But yeah, parents love to say they want a better product, but don't always want to spend the dollars. That is changing. We saw that change first come with baby food, where, once Punna Farm came in and they really introduced a premium side of baby food and saw that parents were willing to spend more for that convenience factor, but still have a sense of it being the homemade quality and nutrition level. And it's taken some time, but we are starting to see that price allowance creep into the older categories. I'd say once you hit elementary school, there's still a drop off. It's still like, give me the dollar juice box because my kid's only going to finish half of it and throw it out. But when you're answering a need and you are answering a community like we do with the sensory sensitive kids, when you're a product that the kids finally consume and it's not just sugar, parents really value that. So we have a very good retention, whether it's our subscribers or our repeat purchasers in store. The fact that we answer a sensory need for a community that is 1 in 34 kids in the United States. It builds a very loyal fan base that we're very connected to and proud to serve.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a huge piece there is that, you're communicating with your customers throughout, and you're really trying to figure out what is the next need that they have, or what are the feedback that they're basically giving you, which is why you got that insight of the smaller size. I'm guessing that's probably advice that you're giving to your beverage founders that you're consulting, that they have to be in touch with their consumers in the end.
You have to be in touch. You have to listen. That doesn't mean you take every comment Joe Schmo makes. Because, if you're doing a sampling at a store or on the street or anywhere, people have opinions that they have the $1,000,000 answer for you. And sometimes they may, and sometimes they might not. And it's just way off base. But if you're hearing something consistently, then you really need to be open to hearing it. And then one of the other pieces I tell our clients and young founders, especially in food and beverage, don't just listen to the feedback, but when you're sampling, look at how much they're consuming. For us, we don't sample in an opaque pouch. We sample in a clear pouch or in cups that are clear, because I want to see, yes, they might tell me it's great, but they've only taken a sip and then walked, 2 feet away and thrown it out. Well, the words don't match, because if you loved the product, you would finish it. So put the two together. Don't just take the positive feedback, but look at how much they've consumed. And the vice versa is true. Some people like to be really negative, like, oh, this is fine. But then they've finished the whole pouch and they've snuck a second sample, and you're like, okay, you're saying it's fine because, you want to be the tough guy, but I have actually seen you consume, well over the sample size. So you really need to not just hear, but also look at consumption levels when you're doing, whether it's a demo, a tasting, or just at a trade show. I mean, I'm the dork that kind of picks up all the different products that are left around, and I'm like, oh, that can's full, or that one's empty, or I'm digging into our own little trash bin. Yes, I'm washing my hands afterwards and seeing how much is consumed, because that really it tells you the true story.
Yeah. So it's a compliment when someone asks you for seconds, for example, or they're like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, can I actually
yeah,
get some more, please, if you don't mind? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. Wow, I didn't think about the having the clear glasses. That's really
It just
fascinating.
makes it quicker to look at, and you're not trying to peek down and see how much is left. Yeah, so when we in 20 end of 2020, 2021, we were launching the Newbies Plus. So all of those taste testings and trials were done. And I was sending people clear pouches, and one of the questions we would ask for the feedback is a picture of the pouch when you finished it, so we could visualize how much product was left across everyone's samples.
Definitely, definitely. And then moving on to, I guess, Radiate. That took a couple of years of research, R&D, from
Oh my God.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess when you're looking at a product that's that complicated, or it takes that long, for example, what makes you finally decide it's ready? What are some of the iterations? I guess this would be really helpful for someone that's a new beverage founder, or someone that has an idea. This could kind of walk us through that process, because that'll just give them something to visualize as to how tough sometimes it can actually be, to get to the finish line.
Yeah, so there's some products you get and you knock them out of the park, and it's a couple iterations and maybe 30 hours in the lab, maybe, under 50, which I would like to tell everyone is fast development. If you're less than 50 hours in that development process, you're a rarity if you knocked it out of the park there. But for us, Radiate, and recently we actually just changed, we're in the midst of changing Newbies Plus from whey protein to plant protein. That was 3 years in development. And the things we're looking for is we take a solid amount of time on ingredient sourcing. So just because an ingredient provides X, it might not be the right ingredient for you, even though that's the ingredient you're looking for. So bringing in a variety of ingredients, constantly looking and seeing what's out there that can answer the need. an example for Radiate, the first iteration of that had a fish collagen. We didn't want to do bovine. Bovine, taste-wise, a lot easier to work with, but our consumer research showed that most of the people that are consuming collagen in a beverage form were also the people that didn't want, meat-based collagen. They were much more open to fish and marine, but marine collagen is a lot more challenging taste-wise to work with. So we actually developed trade secret that the supplier that we used is begging to know how we solved the sensory challenge of their marine collagen. And I was like, sorry, that's my trade secret. You got to give me money to get that one, which just took being open to throwing everything against the wall and figuring out the solution. And a lot of that's just trial and error and time. I just actually solved this. So this was even more recent than past conversations I've had about Radiate, but we had an ingredient based in sea buckthorn that we really wanted to use in the product, but we also needed to use collagen in the product because that was a must for this product. And the two of them hated each other. The stability of the two of them was like from order addition to hydration steps to we tried everything under the sun. Like literally, just like I was working with an amazing food scientist back then, and we were just like hitting our heads against the wall. I think we were like 6 hours into trying different ways of getting these two ingredients to combine. Yeah. And we had to give up. So there was a different sea buckthorn extract that still had benefits, that still had science back to it, that we pivoted to, which was great. But we've changed our collagen source recently. So we started Radiate as a carbonated beverage RTD. We're now relaunching it this fall as a Radiance tonic in a pouch and a shot. And that's twofold. One, we couldn't find a good co-packer at low volumes that could do our technical process to the quality we needed. Also, there's a benefit to being a shot. It's small. It opens up space on shelves where you can sell it a variety of opportunities. And we can bring that production in-house and have control over the quality and the size of our batching. But because we changed our collagen source, it was like, well, maybe we could try that original ingredient again. Yeah, no, they still hate each other. So then it led to hours of research and using our new AI friend. So Claude and I had a number of conversations on what these ingredients were about, looking at the technical documents of them. And then we talked about challenges of protein and stability and looked at different problems we've solved in our end that we've done with the Newbies product, which is also protein, just a different type of protein, on how we've solved those stability issues. And I was like, you're not coming up with these answers, but you're giving me the right thoughts and the right thinking process. And so I applied one of our solutions from past projects to it, and it worked. It was like everyone in my team was like, I don't know about this. I was like, no, I think this is going to be, I think it's going to work. And it did. So like, this is 3+ years later of trying to get these two ingredients to combine together and, just one more test. So you never know when that answer is going to break through. And to circle back to your question, when do you know it's ready? Stability is A. Your product is going to give you the life that you need. And 2, the constant taste testing and feedback. And people are now not only telling you it's a 4 out of 5 or positive notes, but you're seeing people consume the majority of what you're giving them to taste. And then the third piece is if it's a larger amount or something that's going to be consumed daily, finding some of your loyal, really honest customers that you're going to hope to still be your customers and send them with larger prototype samples home and see if they are actually consuming it. So just being like, hey, tell me when you're out of stock and I'll restock you, and do it not in a way that you're asking for data, but that's really what you're wanting to see is how quickly they go out of it. So we have numerous of iterations in the lab, and then we take what we think internally is a pretty good product and we do a prototype run of it, which means we're doing like 100 to 300 liters. You're getting a couple thousand units, and then you're getting that out to a larger public. And you might be going through a number of prototype iterations before you're finally at a point where the feedback is good, the stability is looking good, you've done shelf life testing, and at the end of your desired shelf life, you have a product that still tastes good and is as bright as you want. That's when I go, okay, let's sign this off and take the next step. which for us is usually an e-commerce D2C launch before we start driving it into retail. So again, taking it to another test community, but now people are paying you for it, getting that feedback, building up the data, seeing what your purchase rates are, seeing what your retention rates are, what your repurchase rates are, building that up, seeing where your main like geographic demographics are, and then building out a story that you can take to your distributors, take to your trade shows, take to the retailers and say, hey, my consumers in your region, this is our purchase rate. This is the movement we expect off of shelf. This is the type of support we can give you in store, and have that packaged together. It also, when you start D2C, your volumes aren't as big, but you can test your packaging. Your design is usually not 100% done, and you'll find tweaks and things you want to adjust and a messaging you want to adjust. And it's a lot easier to do those adjustments when it's just D2C than when you have to do UPC changes or anything like that out in the public. And sometimes like the adjustment is because you found a new regulation. So Health Canada is my nightmares. So there's times where you think everything's good and then you find one more regulation page, or there's a change in regulations that you have to adjust for. And you're like, so you're back to the drawing board, or in Canada, we can't make any claims on your packaging. So sometimes you don't recognize it that something could be considered a claim, and you tweak it to step away from being a claim verbiage to just telling people what's in your product. So it gives you that opportunity to not have the eyes on you quite as fast, to get all your pieces in a row and do all your adjustments than when you're in a store. And if it's a big enough adjustment, you have to do a UPC change, the barcode on the bottom of your product. And that is a nightmare. Anytime we've made an adjustment, retailers' first question is this a UPC change? And anytime you're doing a UPC change, that gives all your banners an opportunity, your stores an opportunity to say, okay, thanks, it's been great knowing you, but we're not going to go through this hassle, so adios. So you really want to be careful on those UPC with our kids product recent change, going from the larger size to smaller size. This did require a UPC change, but we were really lucky. We were able to roll it out in a couple really loyal stores, show the volume increase with that UPC change, which for us was a 33% increase in velocities just in the first couple of months, which was big. Being able to take that number to our other stores, and stores who had looked and rejected us in the past, made that transition way easier, that they're like, we're going to make more money. I was like, yeah. So they were willing to do that. But UPC changes are something you want to really try to avoid unless you know it's what you have to do.
Definitely. And there are a couple of things that you mentioned that I wanted to kind of dive deeper into. One was in the DTC part. What's your advice, I guess, for, beverage founders per se? Because beverage is something that's on the heavier side. The cost of shipping is, of course, on the higher side as well. So I guess when you're talking to a new beverage founder, I guess, what are the criteria that they should look at when they're looking at, do I go D2C first or do I go down retail first?
Yeah, I mean, shipping water is heavy. At the end of the day, that means your shipping products costs are really high. That's also why we like concentrates, and a lot of our D2C products that we're launching now are more of a shot, concentrate, tonic sizing to keep our costs down. Also, that's another benefit of our pouch packaging is we don't have a heavy container that's shipping with the liquid. So it's really just the liquid weight that we're seeing in our costs, and try to keep, yes, DDC can go out to the whole wide world, but we try to keep our marketing focused to the regions that we know what that shipping cost is, whether or not, like for example, in Vancouver, which is where we first really focus any new launch, we have a $0 shipping fee in Greater Vancouver because we're able to do those deliveries ourselves. I mean, there's still a cost to doing the deliveries ourselves. There's the labor, there's your mileage, we have an electric vehicle, but that still costs to fill, even though it's not at the gas station. But when I was starting out and it wasn't someone else doing it, that was my labor. And yes, my labor has value, but as a founder, you kind of accept that you're not taking home a check for a while. So there's not a hard cost to running those deliveries. So by doing D2C launch, but then taking all our ad budget, which was small. Like I would talk to agencies and other founders and I'd be like, yeah, my monthly ad number is $500, which was an increase for me. That was like, I finally have a monthly ad budget. Taking those dollars and really focusing them on my local neighborhood that I knew I could deliver to myself and keep those margins as tight as possible. We also did a huge incentive. Hey, come pick up your product. If you have a location that you can do that and you're not doing it, then um, that's also a nice way to drive people to you and be like, and build loyalty too, because we basically said, if you come pick up your product, then here's a discount for your next order. So we're driving them to do another repeat order as well as save us on that shipping cost. And then the other part for D2C that we did is we did a number of A/B trials where we adjusted price point with shipping cost. So we went from like a flat, easy, this is what our cost with margin of our product is, and full shipping costs were charged, to vice versa, where shipping was always free, but our price of our product was pretty high across the board. And in between that, until we found the sweet spot of where was our least drop off of consumers when they hit that shipping charge page. And so, looking at the life cycle, people going through to purchase, which ones were the best. So we have a $5 shipping policy for most of Canada and slightly higher in the US, but not by much. I think it's $7.50 US, $10 Canadian. So it's basically a split shipping fee. So we increased our price a little bit, which has benefits also down the road when you start doing retailer conversations, because they're going to look at what you're selling at online. So I always tell also my clients when they're getting ready for D2C is don't price it for your margin today, price it for what you need to price it tomorrow. Because when you start, if you get big, if you're that 1 in 1,000 that starts having success and you're talking brands like Costco's going to look at all the places you've sold, find the very lowest price you've sold this product at, and then ask for 40 below that.
Yeah.
So if you price your product really cheap online because you want to see that movement and, there's not all the other levels in it, so I can price it here. Yeah, that might help you today, but that's going to hurt you tomorrow. So yeah, it's a lot
Definitely.
of balancing. You got to like numbers. You like taking action and learning from those actions, absorb everything you can, and know your numbers. And it's something that you kind of have to get nerdy excited about.
100%, 100%. Now, those are some really good points, for someone that's starting out with the beverage brand. And because, of course, you have a lot of experience with consulting and also with formulation for other brands as well, for other beverage founders, especially in Canada, I guess. I want to talk on the manufacturing part. Having the right, I guess, manufacturing partner can save a brand a lot of headache, I'm
Yeah.
guessing. So, what are some of the mistakes that you see on the manufacturing side that you see a lot of founders make, and then they're coming to you to, put the fire out, basically?
Yeah, there's a couple fold. So invest in your formulation and invest in owning your formulation is a first piece. A lot of flavor houses and even co-packers will be like, "Oh, we can formulate for you." But then I didn't know this until some people came to us and said, "We're asking the questions." I was like, "Oh, why are you asking this?" But they basically, the co-packers were doing formulation for them, and then when they wanted to leave, they said, "Oh, well, you don't own your formula, so you can't take it with you," which I thought was really dirty. So make sure you own your formula, that you have all the pieces of it. Know your suppliers, whether or not you're doing your supply chain management, really, really know what you have. But don't negotiate and be aware of costs, but look at the grand picture. Yes, you can go to a co-packer that can do a very effective price, but their MOQ, how much product you need to run, might be massive. And then you're tying up all your capital into inventory, which is great. You need product, but you need capital to invest in your marketing, to invest in getting that product to your consumers, to invest in getting on shelf. Like all of those pieces cost money. And if your capital is tied up in inventory, then you don't have the money to get your product where it needs to go. And you're just going to end up giving it away, which is great for awareness, but might not be the way you want to spend your dollars. So when I say look at the whole picture, don't just look at the co-pack fee. Look at the MOQ. Look at what's involved in that co-pack fees. Co-packers, I mean, we do this too. We try to be a partner to our entrepreneurs as much as possible, but there's line items. It's not just, 40 cents a pouch for your co-pack fee. You want to see, well, what storage is involved in there? What ingredients, commodity ingredients are you supplying? Is there storage cost for me to hold ingredients there with you? Does this include packing? Do you do a variety pack? What's the third party testing for quality release? And all of those can have a cost. And some co-packers have a pretty nice package all in one. And some are like, oh, here's our price. And then you start to get in the negotiations of the lines. And at the end, you get to that bottom number and you're like, well, damn, actually, you're twice the price of the people that gave me this pretty package price that seems so high. So do the time to look at the layers, look at the elements of what you can afford, be a nerd and really know your numbers and look at your costing. Like, can you store the places at your home, or do you have a 3PL warehouse that you can work with? Does your co-packer offer 3PL pricing? And services? All of those add up. All of them have different costs. All of them have different benefits, but you gotta look on the ins and outs of what's going to be the best choice for you, and find someone that can run small MOQs that's going to keep your product fresher, which is going to be the nicest, but there's higher cost to it at the start. So put aside more money than you expect for investment, but then don't accept a number at face value. Dig into it and make sure it's the right choice for you. We still do that. Like when we're looking at, do we expand to a new warehouse? Do we go further into 3PL? And we know those lines of like, okay, when we have X number of pallets at 3PL, this no longer makes sense. We need to be investing in a new space for warehousing. Like, not only do you need to know your numbers inside and out, you need to know what's the next threshold for you to take a different step, or at least an idea that you're thinking down the road.
And then another thing also that I think that bites a lot of founders is like the food safety part of it,
Don't
compliance.
go to, yeah, you want to make sure that they have, like, if you're going to ship to the US, ask, and you're in Canada, are they FDA registered? Because if they're not, you're not shipping that product across the border because they're your co-packer. That's where it's being manufactured. So it doesn't matter if the formulation is okay to go in the States. If it's not being produced at a place that's FDA registered, it's not going to the States. No, ask for the CFIA license for Canada. Ask for third-party audits. It's not 100% necessary. If they're FDA or CFIA registered, they can give you good pricing and they have the programs in place. If they're like, oh, we don't have SQF, but they say, here's all our programs. You want, this is tech, like HACCP. Ask, like, know what the different food safety programs are. So if they don't have a third party that you can just like check the box, you know that they have the programs. So for example, for us as a co-packer, we were young and new, and third-party certifications, all of that costs money. And we were scrappy. So we invested in building all the programs that we adhered to different third-party audits. But it took us a couple of years to invest in getting that third-party audit. Did overnight we became a better co-packer? No. We also didn't change our fees, even though we had greater costs. But we always had that reinsurance to our clients that, hey, we have the programs you need. Here they are. Here's our allergen controls. Here's, we weren't SQF certified at the time, but we had non-GMO certification. We had kosher certification. We had NSF certification. So we had other pieces to the puzzle. But yeah, you're not getting into a store unless you have at least your food safety programs. And that's where some people are like, oh, I'm just using a commissary kitchen. There's different levels of commissary kitchens, and know how it can impact your label. If there's, nuts being produced there, you might need to put may contain nuts on your package because it might not have the controls to leave that off your package. Like, are you running an allergen test on all of your equipment before you're producing? My guess is maybe not if you're using a commissary kitchen. I could be wrong, but yeah, food safety can definitely bite you in the butt if you're not thinking about it. So ask about the programs, and any good co-packer is going to share them with you. And any good co-packer is wanting to learn. Like, we weren't experts. I mean, we've gone through a lot of learning over the past 4 years for our own brands and with clients on how to produce the best product.
And the last, I mean, we're running out of time, but the last
Yeah.
question I want to ask was, like I'm someone who has an idea, I have a, you know, I have some investment. Before I come to you, let's say to, my formulation and we should try to manufacture together. What are the things that I should for sure have ready before I come to someone like yourself?
Your idea, honestly, we have people that come to us as catalyst development or consulting side who have something as simple as, I want to do a functional coconut water. Okay, well, that can be 8 million things under the sun. To, hey, here's the formulas I'm making at home. I just want to, commercialize them so I can produce them. That's a wide spectrum. We love both spectrums of the clients. The one thing is, the more toned in your idea is, the cheaper it's going to be for you. Almost all formulation companies charge by the hour. They don't charge by the product or idea. So the more you're honed in, the cheaper it's going to be for you.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And to end that off on that, this is great. Thank you so much for taking the time. A lot of good points. I mean, from UPC changes to knowing your numbers to knowing your packaging to the trade show hack that you gave us. Loved, like really enjoyed this conversation. Last thing is where can people find you? Where can people find the Gnusante portfolio?
So Gnusante, all our brands, you can find us at Gnusante.com, and that's Gnusante with a G, Gnusante. Everything's there, but you can also find us on Walmart.ca.com, Amazon. We're in well over 1,000 locations. You can find us in convenience stores for the Newbies products. But if you want to see our whole lineup or try any of our products, I would always suggest go to Gnusante.com. That's the easiest place to order us, and we have pretty good shipping rates.
Amazing, amazing. I will put those links as well in the show notes. And again, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. And if people have questions, they can always reach out. We have actually a chat in our Gnusante website, and it goes to me because we're still a small business. So I'm the person answering your questions.
Amazing. It's not AI. It is actually us. So there we go.
It is actually me. My husband hates me when it's, 11:30 at night and I'm on the phone, like messaging back.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Great. We're going to wrap this up. Thanks a lot.
Have a great one. You take care. Bye.
Thanks.